What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. I feel like we do a lot of talking about young guys on this channel, whether it's like current rookies or like prospects coming into the league and stuff like that, but there's other young guys in the NBA, so what I want to do is not forget about those guys. Let's take a look at all the sophomores that are in the NBA right now and give them grades about how they're performing up to this point. Hey, y'all, quick editor's note from AVC. I'm just finishing up editing right here, and it was clicking. I was watching the video back, and I was like, something's wrong here, and then I realized there's at least 3 players missing in this video that are supposed to be in the tier list. I don't know what tier list I grabbed off of Tier Maker, but they forgot at least 3 players that I noticed. They're missing Anthony Black, Scoot Henderson, and Jaime Jaquez. Scoot Henderson, all right, here's my quick 2 cents. Scoot Henderson's on the Trailblazers. They don't use him appropriately. Anthony Black is a really nice player, and he should be around the NBA for a while, and Jaime Jaquez is regressing. So there you go. Enjoy the video. And that means we're back here on Tier Maker. I like Tier Maker, man. I always think it's a fun little thing to do, and these grading videos always tend to stir up the pot a little bit when it comes to people in comments and everything like that. AVC, I can't believe you gave him a B. He should have been an A, or he should have been a C. Can't believe it. Yep, that's how all of you sound when I read your comments. Just letting you know that. No, I love all of you guys. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment to my YouTube channel up to this point, even the ones. I always do. I don't know why I'm starting off so hostile today. I've just been probably working too much at the end of the day. But no, I'm excited to do this because I do think a lot of times we forget about guys after their first year in the NBA, and I think it's interesting to go back and kind of visit these guys to be like, hey, how are they actually performing? And you know, typically what I do with these tier lists is I'm like, hey, I want to like grade these guys based off of expectations, right? And I think that's going to be a factor with things, but I think overall I am grading on like overall performance right now, and I want to make it clear. I always say we can't start to really harshly judge guys until like the end of their second year, because I want to start to see some growth at the end of their second year, right? That's when I really start to kind of say like, okay, this is something that I kind of know about you, right? Like I hope to see like your efficiency start to go up by like the end of your second year. That's my hope at the end of the day. And you'll see I've already thrown some names kind of in these non-factor here. The kind of the criteria I went on is if like you're getting like less than like 10-ish minutes a game, or you're just not like very high in the rotation, you might not even suit up every single night. I just kind of threw you into there. So these guys down here are either A, they were first round picks in this draft, so I think it's fair to kind of grade all of those guys regardless. But then also, like, if they're getting considerable minutes now, I think that that's fair to do as well. So these were your rookies from the year prior. Some of them you're very familiar with because they're already like top 10 players in the NBA, and other ones maybe you're not quite as familiar with. So we're going to go through them. We're going to grade them. Mind you, I have to say this every single time with people. This doesn't mean if I give Wemby an F, it doesn't mean that I think Wemby's done for. I'm using Wemby because it's an exaggeration, right? Wemby, we know where he's going to get graded. If I put someone in an F or something, they've played bad up to this point, it does not mean that I've quit on them, right? It does not mean that I've quit on them. I want to see all of these guys succeed. I hope that they all succeed. I like to see good basketball get played. I want to see guys have long careers, play well, all that jazz, right? But I'm just saying this is where they're at right now, and you can only go up from there. It's like a report card. That's what we're doing at the end of the day. But anyway, let's start out. I've got these in no particular order. Just loaded this one up. And so we've got Bilal Coulibaly here at the start. So Coulibaly, I feel like we already have to weight his score because he plays for the Washington Wizards, and the Wizards are just kind of like, ugh, at the end of the day. Like, I don't know what to do about the Washington Wizards. But Coulibaly started in every game that he's played in this season. I think he has like a twisted ankle or something right now, so he might have missed like his first games of the season. What I've always said about Coulibaly is the defense looks good, and he, I think, is the smartest player on the team. Like, he always knows where to be. He always does the right thing. He's always like making the next play on offense. At the end of the day, the efficiency's not that great right now. And like I said, I'm not tripping about that by any means. Like, the efficiency's even fallen off from where it was last season. It's cool to see that he's starting to like get a little bit bigger and stronger and things like that. That's going to be important. I think the third season's going to be very, very telling for him. And look, at the end of the day, his teammates just are a little bit rougher than everyone else's. So it's harder because he's not creating a ton of offense or anything like that. But I'd say overall, Coulibaly's playing like, because like I basically like, this is how I should think about things. We've got A up here, which is like Victor Wembanyama, and then we have F, which is Jalen Hood-Schifino. Can I just put those guys in right now? Do we really need to talk about like either of these guys. I'm sorry to do it this way, but like Hood Schifino is pretty rough. Not looking too great right now. They didn't even pick up his contract going forward, right? That's kind of the bottom of the barrel, right? They don't even want to use the rest of his first round money or anything like that. And then there's Wemby, who's already one of the best players in basketball. I'm not going to waste your time on this video telling you that Victor Wembanyama's good at basketball. You understand that. You're smart enough to figure that out. He's exceeded even our expectations, right? So that's our scale. I'm going to say that Coulibaly is like a C, right? Because I think he's doing all the right things. It's just not quite always falling right now and stuff like that. The defensive end of the court is good, so you might be able to convince me that he's up here in B. I would hear that argument. So that's where I've got Coulibaly. Jarris Walker. Okay, what do I want to do with Jarris Walker? Jarris Walker is such an interesting player, right? Like he's kind of like dead minutes king. Like that's where he really comes in and shines. When it's the rest of the bench has been subbed in, they love to throw in Jarris Walker, and he just does not pass the basketball to anybody. Jarris Walker is a versatile defender I love his energy, right? I love that he's willing to pick up a point guard full court as like a 4/small ball 5 at times, right? The 3 ball's kind of iffy at the moment, right? It's iffy at times, but overall, dude just kind of makes losing basketball plays, unfortunately, right now. And look, he's young, right? That's what we totally expect to have happen. He is young. If you look at like any of his advanced metrics, they don't look very good. They're actually pretty poor. Like he just kind of makes the team worse right now. But there is a lot of ability there, and I think he could be a guy that could space the floor and play hard-nosed defense and everything. I just think it's going to take some time. So he's by no means an F because he does have value on the basketball court in like his on-ball defense and everything, but he's just such a lost offensive player right now that I think it's going to take a little bit longer to figure it out. But there is a ton of skill there. I won't deny that there is a ton of skill. Like there was a reason that he went so high in the draft. Remember, he was a top 10 pick and everything. So it's going to take some time for him, in my opinion. But hopefully Indiana can do it. Indiana's generally pretty good about being patient and developing guys the right way. So we'll give him some time. Taylor Hendricks. What do I do with Taylor Hendricks? I feel like, look, the injury was catastrophic this year. When we feel really bad for him. Do I need to make like another category for just like hurt or not enough data? Is that fair? Should I add a row below and say it not enough data? We just haven't seen much of him. So what do I'll make this one white at the end of the day. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, you know what? I don't care. We're deleting this one. This is fine to call not enough data. These are non-factors, not enough data. We'll call them non-factors. Okay, this website's being weird. Just ignore me. Taylor Hendricks kind of falls into here in a way, but he's a first-round pick, and I know he's hurt, and he's hopefully going to contribute a little bit more this year. I just don't know about him, so I'm just going to throw him there. I don't know what to do with Taylor Hendricks yet. In theory, again, similar thing to Jarris Walker, right? Except he can put the ball on the floor, maybe even a little bit more than Walker even can at points, which is really interesting because Walker's not that bad at it. So I don't know. We have to see with Jarris Walker. Jet Howard over here. Jet Howard, this is what's bothersome to me. So the Orlando Magic are depleted in like every facet, right? Everybody's hurt for them. Jet Howard still doesn't get a ton of minutes, right, on this team, on a team that's desperately in need of three-point shooting, which is what he's supposed to be able to do. And he was a first-round pick last year by them, and he still can't really consistently find the floor. His three-point percentage isn't very good this year. And mind you, when you're not getting a ton of minutes as a guy like him, like I was feeling pretty good about him watching a lot of his off-season stuff and everything. I'm like, okay, like maybe we're going to get something out of this guy this year. Like he can't put the ball on the floor or anything right now, but he needs minutes to really like get going. A player like this, you just kind of have to give them minutes to find their rhythm. Otherwise it just never really happens. As much as I've criticized like the Detroit Pistons for their rotations this year, they're getting the most out of Tim Hardaway Jr. this year because they're at least keeping him on the court and giving him a chance to succeed. So that's where I struggle with this, but because he doesn't really get on the court very much and he's not hitting threes, he doesn't really contribute anywhere else on the court. Do I have to give Jet kind of an F right now? I feel like I do, and that bums me out because I see something here, but I don't know. There's not enough going on with him at this point. There's just not really enough going on. And I feel like I might be a little bit harsher in this video than we might otherwise be with these tier maker things. It almost always ends up in the bell curve, but we'll see with this one. Oliver Maxson's Prosper for Dallas. He doesn't really get on the court much. He was a first-round pick, right? It was good for them to do that. Cheap guy to fill up the back end of their rotation. Young, athletic, lengthy dude. That's cool. Doesn't really get on the court, and even when he does, like, he's not the most efficient or anything like that, even though he's a little bit older. So I'd have a little bit higher expectations for him. But look, this is a really deep team at the end of the day, and it's not like he's making the team like worse when he's on the court. So because he's on like a championship level team, they've got a ton of guys at his position in front of him and stuff like that. There's just not really much of a chance to do it, which hopefully means he's getting some good development. He's learning by playing against really good players every single day, because believe it or not, playing against these dudes in practice is what you need for guys like this. So I don't know. I think that's where I want to put him. Amen Thompson. Oh boy, do I love the Thompson twins. So Amen does everything well but shoot the basketball, right? And that's fine. There's going to be those of you on the internet that are like, he can't shoot the basketball. Wow, you're really smart. You can read the 3-point field goal percentage. You're so smart. You're the same people that bullied Ben Simmons out of basketball. Now I don't get to enjoy Ben Simmons anymore. Thanks a lot. You just had to go clicky-clack on your keyboard. But no, Amen Thompson's good at literally everything else. He's an 11 out of 10 athlete, passes the ball better than almost anybody in the NBA. One of the best on-ball defensive players. He can just run up and down the court all day, just guard people wherever. Like, even when he doesn't have the basketball, he's cutting perfectly, knowing exactly where to be on the court. Did you guys see the other day, who was it? Was it Fred VanVleet? I think, no, it was Jalen Green that got like double teamed in a corner and had to chuck up a shot or whatever, and it was an air ball, and Amen Thompson just read it perfectly and just caught that ball and dunked the shit out of it in clutch time. Like, he's awesome. We all know he deserves more minutes and everything. I'm gonna give him an A because, like, look, he is just elite at everything, and even though he's coming off the bench and everything, he should probably be considered as like a 6th man of the year type of guy, because he's playing with a lot of other guys that take the ball a lot of the time, and he has a ton of success. So Amen Thompson, man, he's awesome. He really, really is. Kobe Buffkin. Okay, Kobe Buffkin, what am I going to do with you? So Kobe doesn't really get a ton of burn on the Hawks, and I've personally never been a huge fan of his game, even though he was just outside the lottery. I didn't really understand the pick of adding like another guy that doesn't play like great defense or anything at the point guard spot, or is he even going to be a point guard in the NBA? We don't know. It feels like, and I know he's been injured and stuff like that, but he hasn't really been able to carve out time on the court yet. And as the 15th pick, that's a little bit kind of meh. And it's not like there's a ton of other guys at that position for them. So I kind of feel like if Jet Howard's in there, I got to throw him in there. These are in no particular order. I'm just throwing them here for that reason. So that's where I'm going to put, that's where I'm going to put Kobe Buffkin. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of his game per se. I don't know what we're trying to make out of it. Like, it feels like we're trying to make a score or something like that, but it's not happening so far. So I don't know. Jordan Hawkins. I like me some Jordan Hawkins. Obviously he's part of the Pelicans. Just have been, everybody's hurt, right? Everybody's injured on the New Orleans Pelicans. And you know what? Gonna happen, right? It's gonna happen. That's totally fine. When he's been in, man, dude gets buckets. We have seen him get buckets. Defensively, yep, got a long ways to go and everything, but overall, like, dude can get buckets in a hurry, and that's something, there's something to say about that, right? Like, being able to handle the rock, create things, like, just no hesitation, fearless, score. That's awesome. That's a guy that I probably want to keep around and try to see what we can do with him. Like, having a combo guard like that off the bench is one of my favorite type of guys to have on a basketball team. Just be an ultimate spark plug. Do I think he's going to be a starter in the NBA one day? Probably not. But if you can fit that kind of Lou Williams type mold and maybe even be a little more athletic, I'm down for it. So I'm going to give him a C for now, just because, like, he still has room to grow on the other side of the court. But I like Hawkins. Keontae George. Okay, so here's the thing with Keontae George, right? Like, he came in, he's a starter, right? Which was kind of a surprise to all of us with the Jazz, that he was willing to start and kind of start at like the point guard spot right away. It helps that they have like another like combo-ish guard starting next to him to also take on some ball handling responsibilities in Colin Sexton. They got Jordan Clarkson on the team too. They got plenty of guys that can handle the rock. Even Lowry can if you really need him to, right? So that helps. But like, we've seen the passing numbers be pretty good. Like, he's put up big scoring fits. He's put up the highlights and everything. Awesome. He's one of the worst defensive players in basketball this year, and it's not even close. He is horrible on defense. So that's the tough thing, right? Like, he's fighting hard every night. It doesn't seem like a lack of effort thing, and like the Jazz wouldn't really tolerate that. I think he's just young and figuring it out, and a lot of times when these guys come from like the Baylors and stuff like that, they're just not really teaching them basketball or anything like that. So it's hard. It's really, really hard. And he's young, so I think that's something to take into account. But because he's been so positive for a rookie on the offensive end, I feel like he deserves a B. That's kind of where I want to put Keontae George. If you want to tell me that he's lower and stuff like that, I wouldn't blame you, but I feel like for the amount of offense that we get out of him, especially on a not very good team, I feel like he deserves to go there. So that's where I'm going to put him. Pods. Pods for the Warriors. That's a hard one to judge. Very good rookie season. Really surprised a lot of us. Was in kind of that rookie of the year race. We were like, wow, this guy is playing the 3 and D from like the guard spot and everything. Looking really good. We've got a future piece here in him. Warriors fans get so excited about young guys like so fast. You guys just fall in love with any young guy that shows you anything. Look, I liked Pod's game a lot last year too. This year it's been rough, right? And now Warriors fans feel like they just want him gone, right? So I don't know what to tell you guys with that. Maybe I'd probably still stick it out because why not, right? I mean, he's shown that he can do something in a young career, but the shooting numbers are really bad right now, right? Defensively, I haven't seen anything worth complaining about at all. Like, is it elite? No. Is it bad? No. So I'm not tripping about that at all. But yeah, the offense has fallen off like completely, and he's not like quick enough or creative enough with the ball to really create any offense for himself or get himself to the rack or anything like that. So based off where he is now, it's hard, right? It's hard. He's a C or a D right now. I feel like because he's at least playing significant minutes and stuff, and the team's just kind of like waiting for him to kind of maybe bounce back or something like that, I feel like we put him at low C, or do I put him at high D? Oh, that's tough. I'm going to get hate no matter what I do with this. So when you comment, be a respectful person. Be like, I disagree with this. I think he could fall into this category. So do that. I'm going to put him in D for now, because it's been a pretty rough season for him. So just leave me alone a little bit. Noah Clowney. How do I want to rate Noah Clowney for Brooklyn? So what position does this dude play? Because Nets fans seem to think this is the 4 they want to put next to Claxton for forever, mostly because a couple advanced metrics, which I'll admit are very interesting, have said that those two are really good when they're on the court together. Like, Clowney can like space the floor and everything. He can't put the ball on the floor at all or anything, and I don't see him as like a forward, because I see the 3 and the 4 spot as pretty much just the same thing nowadays. You just kind of have like 2 threes at this point is what I see. So I don't think there's a role for what that is in Noah Clowney. He's also like not a very good rebounder, considering the fact that he's kind of a center. So I don't really know where we're going with his development. That's why I don't really want to jump on the bandwagon for it. I don't know what we're doing with Noah Clowney. But like, I can't deny the production's pretty solid overall. Like I said, good shooting numbers and anything on a pretty good volume. He's played a couple different positions. Like, defensively, he's been fine. I've got no complaints at all there. Again, I just don't know what we're doing with him long term. So let's put him in the C. I think that's fair. We throw him in C because like we're getting some solid production out of him. I'm just a little bit confused on development and stuff right now. And it's not like he's playing an enormous role on a bad team, right? So I think that's fair. He's not quite a Keontae George level good. So I think that's fair. Derek Whitehead has played like 7 games of basketball since being drafted, so he can go there. But he was a first round pick at one point, so there you go. Chris Murray, much like his brother, has not been able to figure it out so far. Look, the Trailblazers or whatever, they have a mess of a roster, right? They're stuck between trying to play certain guys that are no part of their future and trying to play young guys. So he has not had a consistent role since he's gotten in the NBA, but hasn't really found the shooting stroke yet. Is he just going to be a not so mobile like power forward that can kind of maybe stretch the floor in the future? I don't know. I don't really know what we're doing with him because he doesn't show quite the talent that his brother shows, like at least like defensively and stuff like that, and being able to put the ball on the floor a little bit. Obviously, Keegan can't figure out how to hit the ocean when jumping out of a boat right now either, but like there are other things that Keegan brings to the court. And I don't particularly think there's anything all that great that Chris Murray is bringing to the game. So I'm giving him a little bit of hesitation or a little bit of praise just because like there's nothing on the roster that's helping him, right? And the Trailblazers make things incredibly difficult always. So I'm not going to say he's like down here. He was also a later first round pick, so I'm taking a little bit of expectations into it. I feel like maybe I should put him down here in F. Maybe I should. Okay, you guys tell me if I'm mean for doing this. I'm putting him down here in F for now because that's Yeah, because he's not like playing, right? So I think that that's kind of fair. Okay, I think that's kind of fair. Julian Strother. Going into the season, I said Julian Strother is going to be one of the most improved players in the NBA. I like his game a ton. I like his build. I like his mechanics and everything. Production has been fine this year. There's been a lot of games where you see Julian Strother go like 6 for 7 for the Nuggets on a team that's really struggling to find some depth. Other games where it hasn't looked as good, but overall, like, I like where his game is at and where it's going. Like, again, second season, young guy. It's going to take a little bit. He's around a lot of really good players that have high-level expectations, but I like the athleticism. I like that the shooting numbers have been very solid this year. It's nothing to write home about, but it's solid, to say the least, and I'll take that right now. If by the end of the year, maybe we're finding some consistency and stuff, we're in a groove, maybe Strother, like, shows out in the playoffs or something this year, and we're like, okay, we got something in him. So I'm going to put him in a C. I'm going to put Strother in a C. I like Strother. Marcus Sasser. Oh, we saw so much at the beginning of last year. We were like, ooh, Detroit might have something in this, like a little shooter right here, and he hasn't found it yet, right? Obviously, there's a bunch of other guys at his position that are taking up time as kind of like the ball handling, scoring guard on this team. With Ivy down, maybe things get better, but the shooting numbers have kind of fallen off this year, and that's unfortunate. Again, doesn't help that he's not getting consistent minutes or anything like that, but for the time being, like, because we've seen decent play out of him and there were other guys at his position, I'm going to put him in a D for now. He's not quite an F because we've seen some good play out of him. It's just, again, the Pistons had a bunch of other point guards that they've taken, so I'm gonna throw him there for now. I'm gonna throw him there. All right, what are we doing with Kobe over here? What are we doing with Kobe? Dude doesn't really play, and he was a first-round pick. He was the last pick of the first round, I believe, right? So I'll just throw him here because he doesn't really play, right? I think that that's fair. I don't think we really need to do any more analysis on that. Clippers have a good team, a lot of other good players at that position. Just kind of move on. He was a first-round pick. Grady Dick. Okay, so Grady Dick's an interesting one, right? Like, he is not the player we expected him to be coming in so far. Like, Grady Dick, because guys have been injured and everything, and he's taking advantage of his opportunities, he's averaging like 17, 18 points a game right now. So right away, like, you're doing that in the NBA, you're doing pretty well, right? So you're an A or a B. You're an A or a B, most likely. The defense hasn't been great in my eyes. It hasn't been bad either. His effort's insane. This dude, I think, I know there was a statistic at one point that Grady Dick moves the most out of anyone else in an NBA game. Dude just is running in circles constantly, trying to get the basketball and trying to defend people. That's great. Those are things I love to see early on in somebody's career. That's cool. The three-point shot's like not there though. Still, why? Like, that's what he was supposed to be coming into the NBA. Did we just judge him because he was a lengthy white from Kansas? Did we misjudge the Dick because of that? Potentially. We might have misjudged the Dick, but I love all the things I see online about him and stuff like that. That's for the memes chat on the Discord. Go join the Discord if you haven't. Links is always in the description. We're talking basketball all the time. I'm seeing it blowing up right now. Hey, somebody just joined the Discord. Shout out to Unlimited. Shout out to you. You just joined the Discord at the time of me recording this. They're probably watching right now like, oh shit, that was me. But yeah, go join the Discord and maybe I'll shout out more people. Let me know if you guys want me to do something like that. But I'm going to give Grady Dick a B. I'm going to give him a B because, like, we're not efficient yet, but we're doing good things. He's also, like, the worst at, I thought of the other internet joke, but he's also, like, the worst around the rim right now. Like, he's really, really bad. I believe he, like, is, like, one of the worst rim finishers in the NBA. So I'm going to stop talking about finishing and his name and everything now. And we're going to move on to Cam Whitmore, one of my, blank players in the NBA. That's what I'll say about him. He's one of those guys that he's come in stupid talented, right? Stupid talented. This guy is a freak athlete, can go get buckets whenever he wants. If you leave him out there for 20 minutes, he will find a way to get you 20 points, right? That's what it feels like with Cam Whitmore. Doesn't know how to play the rest of the game of basketball, right? So him and Jalen Green, they're best buddies on this team. And Amen Thompson's looking at them like, y'all, what are y'all doing sometimes, right? But the numbers have fallen off a bit this year, and again, that's inconsistent playing time, right? That's what's going to happen with guys like this. If they're not getting consistent playing time, you're going to get inconsistent play out of them. They need routine, they need consistency and stuff like that so that they can go out there and generate their buckets, right? That's what he's supposed to do. Hasn't been great this season, but there are points where we see all the talent and everything. So I feel like from a pure production standpoint, the inefficiency, the poor defense, poor team play, like that puts you in a D for me at least. But overall, like, there's definitely a future for this guy. You just have to figure out how to kind of wrangle him in and everything. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with that. So I don't know. Take that as you will. Andre Jackson Jr. Okay. You guys know, if you've been watching the channel, I love Andre Jackson Jr. I'm a big fan of this guy's game defensively. Awesome, gives a ton of effort and everything. Like, love the energy that he brings, even on offense, because he's not the most like efficient guy in the world. Which, if he could shoot threes, oh dude, you'd make so much money in this league. If he could shoot threes, yeah, no, the money's his. But what he does do on offense that I really like when he starts with Milwaukee and stuff, is that when he does get the ball, like he's catching and ripping and like going towards the rim and keeping the offense moving and generating more looks for other people. So like, he is playing a role on offense, even though he's not creating for himself a ton. So I feel like, for this case, I want to put him in C, because again, like I have to judge the efficiency at the end of the day too, which isn't like all that great yet, and we'd still like him to develop like an offensive game, because look, he's just not scoring the basketball, right? So we need him to develop that, but for the time being, like, he does serve a role on a team, and I think that's good. So C is basically like, okay, these guys have like clear roles on the team, so I can get behind that. Asar Thompson, oh boy, here we go. We got the other Thompsons one. You guys know, look, everything I said about Amen, say the same thing about Asar. I'll say I think Amen is a little bit further along in his development than Asar is. Obviously, he had the whole like blood clot thing and everything. He's just kind of getting back into the swing of things, trying to get his feet back under him, right? We've already seen the crazy athleticism and everything, a maybe slightly improved three-point mechanical shot, which is cool, but sees the court incredibly well, always in the right spot, same thing, right? Obviously, again, some injuries in there and everything, but from what we saw last year with him and what we're starting to see again this year with him in Detroit, I want to put him in the B. I think that that's an appropriate place for him to be. All right, Brandon Miller, we're on to the second pick from this draft. It took us long enough to get to him. Brandon Miller's had a weird season. The Hornets are bad. They're really bad at basketball. LaMelo's been great. Miller's just been told he has green light at all times. Now, he can do a lot of different things, right? He can create in a lot of different ways. When he's playing with LaMelo, things look good for the Hornets, right? They play well off each other, bringing good intensity on both ends of the court, in my opinion. The Hornets, just like, they're just missing so much talent on the roster, right? So it's very hard to judge. But overall, like, Brandon Miller just has to become efficient, right? He just has to become efficient. He's super talented. He's only in his second season, not even halfway through his second season, and he puts up the numbers that he does, where he can put up 20 to 25 points any given night, right? That's awesome in and of itself, right? So I feel like, because there's just like a lot of like missing chunks to him right now that are just because he's young. Like, I'm not going to give him like an A, because I don't feel like, hey, playoff time, I can just roll this guy out and he's going to be great, right? That's not how I feel about Brandon Miller right now. Like, I feel like there's still some missing parts to his game. Like, I feel like Amen and Wemby, like, I'm going to throw them out. I'm super confident in everything that's going to happen with these two, right? Brandon Miller, I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to give him a B. Right, I'm going to give him a B, because things have been very good. Like, he's given you better production than even like Keontae George is in a lot of aspects, right? So I feel like he deserves to be at least there. Derek Lively, this one, you guys know, this one's going to be an A, right? Derek Lively has come in, and since last year, he's played his role perfectly. It's no surprise that we find him there. He's is he the league leader in field goal percentage, or is it Gafford? I think it's Gafford, but he's like third or something like that. So they've started him over Gafford now, because we've seen Lively now become a playmaker, which is an awesome development for his game. So like, now when they hit him on those like short rolls, because think about it, in the playoffs, Luka and Kyrie, they're going to ice him, right? That's what they're going to do. And so they have to hit people with a little pocket pass, where now we're playing 4-on-3, right? And the big has the ball. Lively's become the decision maker that I wanted PJ Washington to become. He can take a dribble or two, make the next pass instantly, keep the offense moving, while still being the run, jump, dunk, block shot center that you need to have with Luka and Kyrie on the court. Amazing. Derek Lively, starter in the NBA for a long time. Good for you. I threw Bryce Sensabaugh on here as like a, was he a second round pick? I think he was a second round pick, because he gets quite a few minutes for Utah, right? And he's putting up pretty solid points and numbers, honestly. Every advanced metric, though, will tell you the Jazz are far worse when he's on the court. And that's because he does make a lot of little mistakes here and there, misses some defensive assignments, misses things on offense, is what is, but overall, pretty efficient basketball player. So I want to give him like a C, just because, like, there's a role for this guy, and given there's nobody at his position that the Jazz have to pull from right now, Cody Williams can't really contribute much at all at this point. So he does have a role, and he's carved one out for himself to the point where we're like, okay, we have to explore what we can do with Sensabaugh. So take it as you will. Ben Shepherd here for Indiana. Defensively, cool. I need to remind myself like what his 3-point percentage is. I know it's higher than it was last year. Is it above league average yet? I want to say it is on a low clip, so you guys can fact check me on that, see how well I know my stats and everything. But overall, I like Ben Shepherd's game. I like that he doesn't force anything like out of his role. I think that that's like a really, really cool thing that he's able to do and keep himself kind of like within the confines of the team, because there's a lot of good players on that team, right? So where is he going long term? I don't know, but he's become a role player, so I want to give him credit for that at the very least, and being like a nice 3-and-D player. That's great. Awesome. Jordan Miller for the Clippers. He was our Summer League superstar from last year that we were like, hey, is he going to find a role with a team? And he kind of has, right? And he's not like lighting the world on fire by any means, but he's found a role on a good basketball team. So I feel like with Jordan Miller, like, and here's the thing, expectations wise, like he's like a B right now because he's exceeded a lot of people's expectations. I'm going to put him in D because the play's not like anything stupendous right now, but he has worked his way into this as opposed to some of these other second round guys, right? So we're putting him in D, but we should be happy by the fact that he's even found his way to D. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. I don't know. You guys can yell at me in the comments if you really want to. Jalen Wilson, he's a role player. That's the best way to put him, is he's a role player, right? On a bad team. Although, the efficiency hasn't been all that great and everything this season. So, okay, no, I'm going to put him in D. Him and Jordan Miller are kind of in the same spot. He came onto the scene out of nowhere kind of last year as a second round pick that they were like, oh, we can actually throw this guy in the court and he can be pretty good. Again, efficiency's been a little rough. He's not a creator or anything, and he's on a bad basketball team, so that's what's going to make it a little bit harder, but he's at least, like, this is, again, you should be happy with the fact that he's here, and I'll tell anybody, I want to explore what you can do with Jalen Wilson, because when you have that size, and you have the ability to hit an outside shot and stuff like that, and be a contributing factor in, like, a fast break, I'd like to explore that. Why not, right? I think I can make a role player out of that, so there you go, right? Tamani Kamara. Okay, yeah, Kamara, he's shooting good from 3, which is awesome. That's a nice development. It's not anything stupendous, but it's solid, and the defense is awesome. I think all Portland Trailblazers fans love Kamara for where you drafted him and everything. Dude was a steal. I'm more than happy to put him in a B and keep him there. I think, right? We all know Kamara. He's not doing much else. He'll do the occasional rip to the hoop and do a couple cool pivot moves where you're like, ooh, who taught you that, buddy? And he'll flip it up and in. Cool, right? Otherwise, not doing anything too crazy. The team around him makes no sense, so it's even harder for him to be doing what he's doing. Good for you, right? Good for you. Trace Jackson Davis. He's a role player, right? You should be happy with the fact that he's able to do that, but he doesn't do anything like well, right? He does like everything okay. Obviously, the shooting is non-existent. He's a center, so we give him a little bit more like slack for that at the end of the day. But overall, like, we've got a role player in him, so I feel comfortable putting him there. Is he a guy I necessarily want to have playing a ton? No, but he is right now, and I'm sure the Warriors would like to try to find some other minutes elsewhere for somebody else, but he does have a role right now, and he plays it, so there you go. There's Trace Jackson Davis. And then G.G. Jackson. Oh, boy. Okay, so last year, G.G. Jackson was an A, right? Dude was hooping. He was one of my great draft story successes that I got to put on like my resume and stuff for when people ask me like about my scouting and stuff that I do for people. And I'm like, hey, I told everyone about G.G. Jackson. I said he was going to be cold, and I said I'd take him with like a top 7 pick. That's how good I think this guy is. I think he could be like a stud in the NBA. We saw it last year. He's been hurt this whole season, right? Hasn't come back yet. So I'm going to put him in the not enough data for now. I think that that's fair, right? I think that that's more than fair. So hopefully he comes back and he looks really, really good again, right? So here's what we got. This is kind of what you expect to see, right? You would expect it to kind of tail off like this because, look, most players just don't make it in the NBA, right? Most don't make it. But we've got some role players right now, guys we're giving chances to see what they can be. These guys look like they're going to be around in the NBA for a while now, right? And obviously you got our studs. These guys are going to be contributing to good basketball teams right now, right? At a high level, they've got high expectations on them. These guys, we're not so sure, like, might get some minutes here and there and stuff like that. They might even have some roles on teams, but it's not that great right now. Guys that we're kind of like, we're going to see what happens with them, right? And then all of our not enough data, that happens happens in most draft classes, right? There's always going to be a large amount of them that just don't really amount to much at all. As much as I like Julian Phillips on the Bulls, I think he's an interesting player that's worth exploring. Not doing a whole ton right now, doesn't have a big role, second round pick, totally fair. Does that mean that you should give up on any of these guys? No, not at all, especially because GG Jackson's in this group and he's good. But we're not seeing anything right now, right? So it could happen at any single moment. You never know. Guys get traded to somewhere new or something, they get a new opportunity, they blow up a little bit, right? We never know. So at the end of the day, keep an open mind about people. If you're trying to write off any of these guys up to this point, I'm going to tell you probably not. Even Jalen Hood-Schifino, I'm going to tell you like, hey, there's some skill there. I mean, maybe in a new situation or something, he figures it out. He goes to the right G League team, develops the right way, comes back in a couple of years, and all of a sudden he's something, right? So you just never know. So keep an open mind with all these guys. And hey, appreciate you guys as always. We'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.